Nice to see you all here. So, special day today, Kulam Puja, and so the Lord, the Supreme Personality Godhead, is appearing in many different forms. Actually, it's described as unlimited forms. The example is given like the waves coming in from the ocean to the shore. So how can you count them? It's just going on continuously. It seems like eternity. So in a similar way, the Personality Godhead is manifesting again and again. And it's described in Bhagavad Gita that yada yada hidaymasya dani bala tabarata yuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam shayamyam. That whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice and the predominant rise of adharmasya, with religion, at that time, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, at that time I represent myself. So, and in the next sloka, Krishna is continuing with the same theme, Paritranaya sadhana, vinashaya shudaskritam, dharma samstapanartaya, sambhavami yoge yoge. To deliver those who are sadhus, those who are pious, and vinashaya shudaskritam, to annihilate those who are miscreants, who have demonic nature. Dharma samstapanartaya, and to re-establish the principles of religion. I advent myself, sambhavami yoge yoge. I advent myself again and again. So the Lord is so kind, He's coming by His own sweet will, by His mercy. So to give us the opportunity to take shelter, we can see in this world, we're all seeking shelter, isn't it? Naturally. We can see with small children how naturally they seek shelter of their parents. But as grown-ups, as adults, we also seeking shelter. Everyone is seeking shelter. But many times we seek shelter in external things, which is actually no real shelter. It seems like shelter, but it actually is not. So it's called durashraya. Durashraya means false shelter. Like one example, if you take shelter in a house, but the roof is not properly built. So it seems like, from the external point of view, when you see the house, it looks like a good roof, but when the rains come, it starts to leak in. So you realize this is no real shelter. It's not properly done, properly built like that. So all these external things in this material world that we naturally try to take shelter of, like money, or a good house, or a car, or prestige, position, fame, glory, being something special, being honored, and this thing, I have this title, and so on. It seems like it gives us some shelter, but it's very, very flickering, and it cannot give us real shelter. So whatever we are actually looking for in this world for shelter, it will ultimately disappoint us. But the real shelter is the spiritual reality. So just like the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they took shelter under Giriraj, under the Govardhan hill we see here, so nicely made. So it was like a great, we can say, catastrophe. Never, ever had it been such storms. Indra, he became bewildered. Indra is a devotee. He's a great devotee, taking so much responsibilities. King of heaven, and honorable position. And he has so much, he gets so much respect and honor and sense gratification. We cannot even imagine here on this earth planet what the facilities for sense gratification is there in the Svargalok, on the highest realms of the higher planets. So, and Indra, it's wonderfully described in the Bhagavatam how he was expecting to get this Indra Puja. They were preparing for the Indra Puja, as they had done for generations. And little Krishna, he came and he asked his father, what is these preparations going on? They were elaborate preparations, and they were really into it. So Krishna, just in a very innocent way, he asked his father, why is this? Who are you going to worship? Why you worship? What you going to get out of this? So it's one interesting, important lesson from that to understand the deeper meaning behind religious life. Why we're doing what we're doing, for what purpose, what we want to achieve through these spiritual activities. So sometimes the tendency is one forgets this, that the religion becomes more ritualistic, one does it more it becomes more superficial or external. But the perfection of religion is you do it with love and devotion and with the heart. In the Bhagavatam it's explained, Savai Pumsa Parodharmo Yattu Bhakti Radokshayi Vahaitu Kyapratyata Vayatma Suprasidati, that the supreme occupation, the supreme activity, Paradharma, the supreme occupation duty for Savai Pumsa, for all living entities, is that by which one attains to loving devotional service, to adoption, to the Supreme Lord. And it's explained that service has to be ahaituki apratiyata. Someone knows what that means? Ahaituki apratiyata. That service has to be unmotivated and uninterrupted. It has to be pure in order to inatma suprasidati, in order to completely satisfy the self. So Krishna, by his kindness, he understood the heart of Indra and he wanted to rectify his mentality. I guess we all have that experience, that we are sometimes, we can experience how Krishna in a very personal way is helping us to realize some anarthas, unwanted things in the heart, in our consciousness, impurities. And he can do it from within. We are realizing different things from within or from without. Suddenly a person comes and just tell us something, and we just realize, oh, this is some mercy here, some higher arrangement. It might be very painful. Sometimes maybe someone is harsh on us and just speak out and point something out, and it hurts like anything. But if we just can stay sober and reflect on it, we can also realize, oh, this is actually true. I needed to hear that. I didn't, it was very, very painful, but I needed that. I needed to go through that. So I think we will have experience of that. So Krishna is very kind, very personal, to help us to advance. So Krishna saw how Indra, he had become proud because of his position, all his opulence. So easily it happens. Even Prabhupada spoke about even a very poor man can become proud of the most small thing. So this is the tendency in this material world. So Krishna arranged this situation so Indra should become angry. That he told the inhabitants of Vrindavan, why are you preparing for this yagya for Indra? He should instead worship Govardhan Hill. And the Brahmanas, the local Brahmanas and sages, and so he gave different arguments for that. And Nanda Maharaj, his father, he was listening. Everyone in Vrindavan, they just want to please Krishna. That's the characteristic. So Raj, they just ready to do anything for Krishna's pleasure. That's Vrindavan. And so they comfort everyone in Vrindavan just wanted to do anything for Krishna's pleasure. So Nanda Maharaj, when he heard Krishna's desire that all these arrangements should be used, this yagya should be used instead of worshipping the Govardhan Hill and the local Brahmanas and the cows. So he was he was listening, but he suggested that, okay, we will worship as you asking, as you so desire to go downhill, but first, please, let us do this Indra Yagya. Because they were, as Vaishyas, they were completely depending on the rains. Indra is giving rains. And so they, Nanda Maharaj explained to Krishna, it's so important to show gratitude, not just take it for granted. It's by mercy, rain is coming, and in this way we can maintain ourselves, we can live a good life. But Krishna, he was not satisfied with that. He said, no, please, we should use all these things for Govardhan Puja. So, because Nanda Maharaj and all the inhabitants of Vrindavan just loved Krishna, so they actually took a big risk. They know that Indra might become disturbed and very angry. And that is exactly what happened. He became very, very angry, very disturbed. He was expecting this to come, as it always had done, year after year after year, this Indra Yagya. Just like maybe in our lives, we have experience of some things we just get, and we take it for granted, and we expect it to be like that. For instance, some honor, some prestige, and from others, and when suddenly it's not given to us, easily we become disturbed. Why is this? Because we take it for granted, we are used to it. You have that experience? I have. So Indra, he became disturbed, and he became at this point very, very disturbed, because he was at this point in quite big illusion, and that's why Krishna, by his mercy, wanted to make this, help Indra in his spiritual life. So Krishna, in a very personal way, with all the devotees, is just guiding us from within. It's explained, Ishvara Sarvabhutana Marida Shidjana Tishtati Ramayam Sarvabhutani Yantra Rudaramaya. And in everyone's heart, Krishna says it's super soul. And directing the wanderings of the living entities who are seated as on a machine made of material energy. This body is like a machine made of the material elements. And the Paramatma, the super soul within, is guiding us and helping us on the path. So Krishna made Indra angry, and he was so disturbed at this point. His mentality became completely demoniac. And how did that come out? Well, actually, he wanted to destroy all the inhabitants of Vrindavan. That's like really overacting, isn't it? He didn't get his normal respect and yagya, and so he wanted to destroy everyone, all the inhabitants and Vrindavan, and he called for this Samvartaka clouds, and it was this most heavy rain. You cannot imagine, it was just like pillars of water coming down, and it was freezing winds, and they were suffering. The inhabitants of Vrindavan were suffering. And then Krishna, by his kindness, he just gave them shelter, because they were just completely taking shelter of him. So Krishna, with his left pinky, he lifted the Govardhan and held it there for 7 days and 7 nights. And so just this interaction between Krishna and the devotees in this situation. It's so wonderful to describe how Krishna, he was just reciprocating with each and every one under this umbrella Govardhan Hill, and how he was in the most loving way glancing on them, encouraging them, and they just forgot everything about the catastrophe. They were just so enchanted by Krishna's love and kindness, and so this is the perfection of spiritual life, just to take shelter of the Lord, and then when we take shelter from the heart, crying out for real shelter, then Krishna is appearing. And in this age, of course, in Kali Yuga, Kale, Nama Rupa Krishna Avatar, Nama Haitahaya Sarvagati. In this age of Kali, it's chanting of the holy name, the Hare Krishna Mantra. It's explained as Krishna Avatar. It's an incarnation of Krishna. And simply by chanting the holy name, one associates with the Lord directly. And anyone who does this is certainly delivered. So this is now how Krishna appears here, just like he's appearing like this, as Govardhan Hill today. But he is so easily accessible to us if we just take shelter of the holy name. So Prabhupada spoke about Nama Parad, Nama Bas, and Shunana. So Nama Parad, when we chant the holy name with offenses. So then not so much of the purification is going on. We are quite stuck on the path of progress. So the difference is that how to come to the, it's called also the clearing state from Namabhas, or from Namaparat to Namabhas. Namabhas is a clearing state. It's actually when we seriously endeavor to focus on the holy name, to hear the holy name. One time, Giriraj Maharaj asked Prabhupada, he was in Mumbai, and this was in the 1970s, and he had big pressure on him. Prabhupada gave him so much responsibilities. There was legal court cases and many different, very difficult situations, and he was taking that on him. So he said to Prabhupada, when I'm chanting, it's very difficult for me to not think about all these beauties and all these challenges. Is this Namaparad? So he just asked Prabhupada directly like that. And do you know what Prabhupada answered? Well, he asked him one question back, and he asked him, when you're chanting, do you try to give up offenses? That means you try to hear and not think about all these other things. And Giriraj Maharaj, he was thinking for a short time, and then he said, yes, I try. And immediately Prabhupada said, then you are not on the Namaparad platform. So that's very instructive, that we are ready to take up this challenge to control our mind and focus on hearing the holy name. And when we sincerely do that, then we come to the clearing stage. And then some light is coming into our lives. This example is given by Haridas Thakur when there is the dawn in the morning, so there is slight light. So even the slightest light makes a difference when it's pitch dark. And when there is a slight light, then there is certainly a difference. And when it's just the sun is rising gradually, it just increases the light. So in a similar way, when we can chant Namabhas, chant without offenses, then the consciousness is becoming purified, and we can actually feel it becoming liberated. We can feel the effect of it. So that's a challenge. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, also very practically, that wherever the mind wanders, due to its unsteady and flickering nature, I must certainly withdraw it, Krishna says, and bring it back under the control of the self. So that's, it's not easy. So we all experience that when we try to focus on repeating the holy name, suddenly we are somewhere else. Unavoidable. But the test is when we recognize, oh, I'm not here, I'm somewhere else, immediately. Yes, so sincerity shows immediately we try again, and try again, and try again. So that is Namabas. Then we start to make progress, and the light is more and more coming into our life. And Shuddhanam, pure chanting, that's like when the sun is rising above the horizon. We directly can experience the Supreme Personality of God in the pure name, Shuddhanam. So this is... but it's interesting that I think we all have experienced that in regards to be focused and controlling the mind, if we are really in a need, we can do it. Like if it's a life-threatening situation, suddenly we are very, very focused. Or if you are shooting, if you are an archer, you have to be like Arjuna. He was so completely determined to focus, and he was practicing and practicing and practicing, and he was just he became the best because of his determination. So focus is possible when there is like a real need. We can do it if we really want it. So, but the problem is that we have Kali Yuga minds, and a part of us wants it. Okay, I want to chant and make spiritual advancement and purify my heart. But another side of us doesn't want, and it's taking over sometimes. Suddenly we are somewhere else, or there's some ping on the phone or some screen, and suddenly, we are going to check this, and we are not there. So that's Namaparad. So Govardhan Leela shows that religious practice should not be ritualistic. Satchidananda Swami says that japa, chanting the holy name on beats, it's not a ritual, it's a relationship. So we should try to connect with the Lord in a personal way. So when we say Krishna, Krishna is there in the sound, no difference. No difference at all. So when we take shelter like that, just like the inhabitants that took shelter of Krishna under Giriraj, they forgot everything else. And they were just they felt completely protected, safe. So the wonderful thing is that Krishna, he manifested himself as Giriraj. And the inhabitants could see that. And Krishna, little Gopal, he was bowing down to this form, Giriraj, on the hill, this huge form. It seems to be separated from little Gopal, but actually not. So Krishna, as little Gopal, bowed down to Giriraj. And all this wonderful prasad, Bhoga, which was prepared for Giriraj, he just ate with with great happiness because it was offered with love. So this is also stated in Bhagavad Gita. Patram pushpam phalantuyam yome bhakta prayakshati talaham bhakta pavitam ashnami paritatmana. If one offers me with love and devotion, even simple things like a leaf, fruit, flower, water, if it's done with love, I will accept it. So that's the main ingredient, love. So that's what is attracting Krishna. Krishna is not interested in the fruit or the flower in itself. It's when it's done with love. Just like in an ordinary living or in an ordinary relationship, you know that if we offer a gift to a person and if it's done with love, immediately we feel the difference, isn't it? Immediately. Or if it's done more that because you should do it, it's expected, you should give some gift here now, his birthday or Christmas, and we should just do it. So we might become, there's some happiness there, but if it's actually done with affection and love, and we really want to give a gift that pleases that person, we immediately feel a difference, and we become affected by that. We become touched by that in our hearts. So we can say it's the same psychology. Krishna is not interested in just the rituals. The rituals are important. The rituals in spiritual life, they're meant to support our spiritual progress. But the main ingredients is bhakti. So this is... so Giraja just enjoyed, and he was so happy to receive all this bhoga, and he just ate everything with appetite, because it was done with love. And he said, Aniyor, I want more, I want more. And the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they became bewildered because they didn't have anything more. So then Gopal, he mentioned, just like Ladyavati also mentioned, the tulsi leaf. Yes, please give him a tulsi leaf. And so they did, and he became completely satisfied. So it's wonderful with Krishna that even the most simple things can please him, and makes all the difference in the world, the quality in whatever we're doing in Bhakti Yoga. It makes all the difference. That's something to meditate upon. Like when we offer obeisances, we come into the temple, we just bow down, and how we can be somewhere else, we're thinking about so many other things. But if you actually do it, you are present, you do it with feeling. Prabhupada is here, Kwanita is here, now Giriraj is here, and you bow down with your head, and you are grateful for the mercy to come here and do service, and that makes all the difference in the world. Or any detail, like when we cooking something and we want to offer it to Krishna, so we can think about so many other things, but when we actually do it with focus, like Prabhupada, when he was cooking, he was very serious. He was doing it with focus, and he was very quick also. Prabhupada said cooking is 1 hour business, and deity worship is 1 hour business. So he was cooking. I remember it was on one occasion, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj appearance day, or disappearance day, and the devotees, they, some or other, had not thought about it. It should be one feast at noon for Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. And Prabhupada asked Tamakrishna Maharaj, where is the feast? And so he ran out in the kitchen and nothing was prepared. And Prabhupada became very upset, but he was just himself getting into action, he went out in the kitchen and himself cooked 10 preparations, full feast in 1 hour, and offered to his spiritual master. So when we cook at home, when we make a simple offering, some bold offering at home, so if we just something, we can meditate upon that. Okay, now I should do it with more devotion, more presence, and do it more personal, and with feeling, and with devotion. And that makes all the difference. Suddenly it's a connection there. So this is so simple things, so that one can practice in everyday life, and that makes all the difference. All the difference that we actually experience, we're making progress. We're going forward in our spiritual life, not getting stuck. And getting stuck means it's boring, same thing again and again and again. I want some changes. Okay, is there any good film or some interesting news or something else that gives me some stimulation? So it easily happens. So this is just the simple difference: to be present and be focused and be try to do it with the heart. To be focused, like Krishna gives example in Bhagavad Gita, as a candle flame in a windless place does not waver. So the transcendentalist, whose mind is controlled, remains always steady in his meditation, in his transcendence, being fixed like that. There you see they are moving, the candle place, some wind is there, but when it's a completely windless place, so it's just completely still. So the transcendentalist's mind is controlled, it becomes like that, peaceful and fixed. So this is something practical we can work on in every situation, in every day life. Because we are always active, always doing things, we have so many responsibilities and duties and like that, but we can do it in a devotional way. What Prabhupada recommended, you can chant Hare Krishna when you take a shower, you can chant Hare Krishna when you're cooking, you can chant Hare Krishna when you drive your car, you can chant Hare Krishna in so many different situations. Just utilize the time. Always chanting, that's actually the perfection, because then you are connected to the Lord. So maybe it's time to stop here. Any questions or comments?
There was in Vrindavan, when they had sent out a message that everyone should cook and come and put it here at Giriraj. There was one very old lady at Nandagram, which is distant from Giriraj. And she was thinking, my goodness, I'm so old. How can I go over there? Anyway, but she made up her mind. I will cook now, and for Krishna. But what happens? Let's see what happens. And she was cooking so nicely, several preparations, and suddenly at one point there was one blue arm coming in from the door and took all her offerings and out of them. Sorry about it. She had put her mind into it and her heart.
That's a
So sweet.
wonderful story. So it's in our life we are struggling with different anarthas, more or less, different degrees. We are all in our individual, unique situations in life, but there are many challenges and struggles, and Krishna might not just appear like that with a blue arm, and we can realize him directly, but by these simple practices, just try to improve in small things, in small details in life. It can actually make a big difference. And the main thing is that from wherever we are now, we try to make progress on whatever level we are. Just from here, okay, I'm here now, but now I want to improve, I want to increase, I want to advance in spiritual life. And if we can experience, if we can feel the difference, that's very encouraging. Like in any practice, if you're playing music, you practice music, and you actually feel, wow, I've become better in piano or guitar or in sports, just practicing. If you see some result, that's encouraging, naturally. So in spiritual life, it's important that we feel also we're actually advancing, we're making progress, to be more crying out for Krishna's shelter. And so in small details, and also, of course, in relationship to others, and you associate with devotees are very special, and if you can serve the devotees and please the devotees, and you can be sure Krishna is very happy.
Actually, I think Rajavati Mataji wanted to say something.
I wanted to ask.
Say something.
I wanted to ask one question, but
Really?
okay. Just, I listened to your lecture. Thank you so much. I have a question because you mentioned that one can chant the holy name, or one should chant the holy name constantly, and under any circumstances. There are no hard and fast rules, but at the same time, the concentration should also be there that the apparatus are laid out. So how to do that? Like for me, if I try to chant constantly, I'm focusing on so many other things, but I'm chanting, the mouth is chanting, or in mind I'm chanting, but actually the focus is not there. Is it considered to be like apparatus? Yeah. Sorry, you too.
I think it's like a child who is doing something imperfectly, but the parents see when there is sincerity there, that the child is trying his best. So the parent just encouraging like anything. Oh, you're doing so nicely, you're doing so well, although it's not at all perfect, but because it sincerely tries, that's appreciated by the parent, naturally. So in a similar way, Krishna sees our intention, that so many other things are going on, and duties and things are disturbing us, and thoughts coming and going, and so on. But if we are sincerely, as we said, wherever the mind wanders to its unsteady and fleeting nature, if we just try to adore it and bring it back, that's how we show our sincerity. So although it's imperfect and we might feel like we are really not successful, but Krishna is appreciating when we try sincerely. So this sincerity is Prabhupada so many times spoke about it. Ultimately, that's so important, just the sincerity, we try our best, and then Krishna is pleased. And if Krishna is pleased, so then we are making progress. What do you think about this?
Thank you.
I will just ask one question. Since we are a part of quite digital world and we get a lot of information about Krishna also, and we talk about a lot about Nam Jap, So there's Radhe Radhe, there's Hare Krishna, there's Hari. I mean, what is the best way to chant so that we can inculcate in kids also, and we also practice while working, the way you are telling. Even if you're working, you're sitting, I mean, you chant. So is it like any specific, because the holy book, you have read it, not us, so we just go through digital information. So is it like in Vrindavan, they say Radhe Radhe, or Radhe Krishna, or Hare Krishna, or all these names are just same? So
Well, the Lord's name is absolute. So if you say Radha Radha, you say Krishna, and so the Lord, where His internal energy is present, and so you connect like that. And as we spoke about, the main thing is sincerity. You want to connect with the Lord. Then, of course, then it's also we know that Srila Prabhupada, who is the example of being a pure devotee, by his personal example and by the example of spreading Krishna consciousness around the world, we can see that he was empowered. And he was also very, in one sense, strict in how we should chant and what we should chant. Because the tendency is in this world that we want also, in regards to mantras and chanting, we want some variety, something new, and not just the same thing again and again and again. But Prabhupada will show that it's, if we go deeper into chanting, and what is especially recommended in this age is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, and everything is there. Like if you chant Radha Radha, when we say Hare, that's the eternal energy of the Lord, that's Srimati Radharani. So we address her always before Hare Krishna. So that's Radha Krishna, Radha. So everything is there. So we are in a very safe position, and we know that we please Prabhupada if we can follow what he has recommended. And he has very clearly recommended what to chant and not to chant also. So that makes life simple and easy. One can follow that, those examples. And what do you think about this?
super. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare.
Wonderful. Hare Krishna. Something else?
In the end of this Govardhan Lila, Indra, he was, as we were talking here in the beginning, he really wanted to just erase Vrindavan and all the people there with all means. And he had these clouds. These clouds are used to, destroy the whole material world at the time of annihilation. So they were very powerful. And Indra was there, he had these thunderbolts. And he was sending one thunderbolt after another, bombing. And the last one he was trying to throw. His arm suddenly was blocked. He couldn't make it. And he had some kind of, this realization there that what I'm doing, what am I doing? So he stopped and he went back to Amaravati, in his town there in the heavenly planet. And he started to feel, is guilty of something stupid, really blunder, super blunder. And he couldn't get out of it. No rest, no nothing. And he went to Lord Brahma actually, and he asked him, what shall I do? And he was thinking to go and ask forgiveness of Krishna. He felt that he had done such a blunder. Nobody had done such a blunder before. And Brahma said, yes, but you can bring a devotee with you, a person who will bring joy to Krishna's heart, and you can come after that person, So he was recommended to bring Mother Surabhi from the heavenly planets. And they went, but Indra, he was so afraid. But he was really humbled. He came by foot, took off his slippers, and then he came there where Krishna was at Govinda Kund. And he offered his dandavat. He just first put his big yellow golden crown with all the jewelry on, and he put it there at the lotus feet, showing that who is the real king, and I am not. Because Indra is the king of heaven, he has a big crown. But when he was there, and when he should offer dandavat to Krishna, just put it down there at Krishna's feet. And then there was a wonderful talk between Indra and Krishna, and Indra was so afraid. Because, when we are materially attached, we think that the other person also is like that, on a material platform, and he's very angry with me, and he has to do the dangerous thing, like that. Krishna doesn't have this. He's all good. He's all kind, full of compassion. And can you imagine the first thing Krishna said to Indra was, I'm really sorry that I stopped your worship. I'm sorry I stopped your worship. What will come after this? The great bomb will come now. And there was a wonderful talk between them. And then, yes, he said, Indra, how could you do such a thing? I mean, he was a Maha-apara. If you offend devotees, you say something stupid or whatever, but to murder the whole scale, whole village. Krishna said, you wanted to murder me and my father, Nanda Maharaj, and all the cows and everything. What happened to you? How you got this fever? Krishna considered Indra to be sick, very, very ill. And he said, how is it possible? How could you do such a thing? Indra said, you see, I lost my temper. I got so angry. Yes, but Krishna said, you have intelligence. You could stop it. You just control it. He said, no. Indra said, no, because of this anger, I lost my whole intelligence. So this, to get angry is very, very dangerous. This is what we can learn from this, that you lose everything. You lose your intelligence, you lose your memory, you lose all your whatever you need to have, you be loving and kind. But somehow they cleared it out, and he was kind of forgiven by Krishna. And then Surabhi Devi, she was talking after they were finished. She was talking to Krishna, and she said, you know, you don't want to have him as a king. You want you to Krishna, you know. And actually, they had a coronation ceremony. And Mother Surabhi, she was spraying, bathing Krishna. They had Abhishek, you know. She was bathing Krishna with the milk from her udders for his great happiness. And Airavata, is that right? Indra's elephant, who had many trunks. He was bathing Krishna with water from Ganga water with his trunk. So you know, it was a great installation ceremony. At that time, Krishna got the name Govinda, the king of the cows. So it was a wonderful custom there after. And in the end, also Krishna said that now you can go home, you can enjoy your heavenly kingdom. Because it happened actually that Indra did a little blunder again. It was one time Krishna wanted to go with his wife, Sarvabhu. He has a wonderful class. Satyabhama. And she said that I want a parijata flower. I want to free outside my palace. Nobody else has. I want that. So Krishna went with her from Dwarka. He went to the heavenly planet and they took one of these parijata trees. And at that time Indra was so angry and he started not just a fight, but a war with Krishna. So, you know, this pride is giving way to anger and all those lower qualities. This Govardhan Lila is just so full of beauty, so beautiful. Krishna's grandfather, Nanda Maharaja's father, when there was these clouds, you know, boom, all this water came, and then he said that, hey, clouds, my name is also, I don't remember it in Sanskrit, his name, but it also means cloud. I'm also cloud. So, why are you doing this? Now, you will see now my little grandson, Krishna. You will see my little grandson, what he can do. You know, he's lifting this whole mountain on his finger. And now let's see what you can do. So he has such faith, such wonderful shelter of Krishna, my little grandson.
This is when we see in this example that Samaraj seems to be repeating, he's making mistake again and again. So that's also something we can relate to in our conditioned life. That again and again we are, what are we supposed to learn? But still same things come back. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Jayato Vishayam Pumsam, Sangas Teshu Pajayate, Sangat Sanyate Kama, Kama Kama Vijayate. When one contemplating the objects of the senses, one develops attachment for them, and from attachment to the sense object, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises. And then Krishna continues that Krodhat Bhavati Samaha, Samaha Smriti Vibrama, Smriti Bransha Buddhiva Nasho, Buddhina Shepanashati. But from anger, complete delusion arises. From delusion, the will went to memory. And when the memory is lost, one loses the intelligence. And in this way, one falls again down. And one makes the same mistakes. Although it's, so this is the nature of lust. It seems like now I learned my lesson. It's just too much suffering and too much pain. And but after some time, again and again it comes back, and one loses intelligence. So this is, it's not strange in this world. That's why we need spiritual intelligence, spiritual strength, so we can, by special mercy, overcome this. And this is especially when we also understand the importance of the relationship to the devotees. I just end with this, that it's one shloka, Aradhananam Sarvesha Vishnu Aratanamparam Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadiyanam Sumarjana. That it's Parvati who is speaking to Lord Shiva, or Shiva speaking to Parvati, that of all different kinds of worship, the worship of Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, is the best. But then he's adding, but even better than the worship of the Lord Vishnu is the worship of the Vaishnava, the devotee. So Prabhupada said, love me, love my dog. So if you really want to have an easy access to someone's heart, you go through a person who's very dear to that one. Like if you are very kind to a child belonging to a certain parent, and you are showing your appreciation and love and affection, then it's opening up naturally for the father and mother. Oh, you recognize someone who is so dear to me. So this is like the shortcut, somehow, to serve the devotees, please the devotees. And like here in this room, we have so many devotees. Such an opportunity. Somehow, how can we serve them? How can we please them? How can we, in different ways, engage in activities which is for their pleasure? It's also very practical. It's important spiritual life becomes very practical. You have the deepest philosophy, but it's like really down to earth in the practical, everyday practice, how we can, it can make all the difference, as we have been speaking about. So I think we should go on now with the program. You want to say something?
I have a small announcement. I have a little pot here, and when I was at Giriraj, I understood one is not allowed to take any stone, even small stone. And I was asking, is it possible to take little, from the ground and swift it? That's okay. So I had such a little cloth like this, and one wonderful Brajavasi came directly and me to swift it, Powder is here, so it is no different from Giriraj. And during the kirtan, you can come to me on the side. I will place little of this powder, Giriraj powder, very powerful powder, and you will be very happy.
Thank you very much. Giriraj Maharaj ki jai.